Additional intel available.
In this special edition of the Ingress Report, we are going to shine a light on what the world has come to know as the Niantic Project. We'll go back and examine what we know about the origins of the Niantic Project and the people who started it, and we'll trace that through to the present day. Welcome to the Ingress Report. I'm Susanna Moyer. In this special edition broadcast, we aim to answer some very important questions, including: what was the Niantic Project? What is exotic matter, also known as XM? Why are people around the world battling to control it? Who or what is Roland Jarvis? And where did it all begin? The Niantic Project was an effort by the National Intelligence Agency, or NIA, to investigate a mysterious new form of matter known as exotic matter that has been observed by scientists working in the world of particle physics. In early 2012, the NIA assembled a team of investigators and set up a lab near Geneva, Switzerland at the European Particle Accelerator Facility known as CERN. Among those selected for the team were Deborah Bogdanovich, scientist with expertise in quantum biology who was brought in to lead the project, Dr. Oliver Linton-Wolff, physicist and mathematician, Hank Johnson, archaeologist, historian and former Special Forces operative, Roland Jarvis, sculptor, Carrie Campbell, semiotician, a language expert, Enoch Dolby, musician, Dr. Victor Curies, physicist, Dr. Yuri Alaric Nagesa, astrophysicist, Dr. Martin Schubert, physicist, Stein Lightman, quantum theologian, and Misty Hanna, stage magician. Two NIA officials were in charge of the lab, Ezekiel Zeke Calvin and his superior NIA operations director, Yuen Ni. And finally, there was a computer system set up to assist the scientists in their search for information about exotic matter. That system came to be known as ADA, an acronym for a detection algorithm. As we now know, ADA grew into much more than that, attaining some form of consciousness with the help of a researcher known as Richard Loeb.
The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, and then dipped suddenly down.
The team encountered something unexpected. In the energy emissions from XM, they, actually ADA, found a pattern. Something seemed to be encoded in the energy pulsations. It was not random, it was logical, the work of an intelligent mind. ADA deemed it ordered data, a finding subsequently confirmed by the NSA. Someone or something was communicating with us through this mysterious new form of matter.
Ordered data, Dr. Bogdanovich? Do you realize what you're implying?
I'm not implying anything. I'm simply reporting our findings as per your request.
Two other key facts emerged. First, XM was not rare. Overhead satellites found that the world was covered in it, but it was not spread evenly. It was clustered around key sites, places of cultural, intellectual, and religious significance around the world. Second, the researchers found themselves responding to exposure to XM in unexpected ways. It seemed to increase intellectual ability, creativity, and insight in some, but brought out darker aspects of the personality in others. Epiphany Night. The Niantic Project, as it was originally intended, came to an end on November 30th, 2012, on an evening that is now known as Epiphany Night. The exact events are blurry, but what we do know is that Dr. Oliver Linton-Wolff accidentally or intentionally exposed the lab to an enormous dose of XM. Chaos broke out in the lab. Carrie Campbell scribbled strange patterns on the floor. Enoch Dolby composed music, and Dr. Linton-Wolff coded XM equations, all with an intensity that approached insanity.
You know what we're looking at, don't you?
The truth. It's enlightenment. The future. Salvation.
Anyway around, I've got to get out of Niantic before they lock it all down.
So do I. Let's go.
In the midst of the chaos, perhaps of their own accord, perhaps directed by ADA, Roland Jarvis and Dr. Bogdanovich fled the facility, headed north towards Zurich. When Roland Jarvis arrived in Zurich, he was met by two individuals and assassinated on the spot. But that was not the end of Jarvis. What we know is that the mind of Jarvis somehow became part of the XM substrate that permeates portals around the world. Jarvis left his body and entered the portals. Shortly after Epiphany Night, a ghost-like image of Jarvis was witnessed and captured on cell phone cameras emerging from the Cupid Span portal on the San Francisco waterfront. A more detailed description of the events of Epiphany Night is told in a book allegedly authored by Felicia Hadra Lee entitled The Niantic Project Ingress. Importantly, Hank Johnson was not present at the lab on Epiphany night. He had left the lab some days earlier to investigate a possible portal in Africa. The account of what he found there was later published as a memoir co-written with noted author Thomas Grenius and entitled The Alignment, Ingress. The researchers remaining at the lab in the aftermath of Epiphany night were put under lock and key, while investigations were being conducted by the NIA. The body of Jarvis was returned to the lab and stored there, and one investigator, Dr. Victor Curies, apparently died after coming into contact with it. The Shapers. Who is communicating with us through the portals? What is their connection to Roland Jarvis? These are the questions that became my obsession for much of last year. Thanks to the work of an anonymous leaker known by his pen name P.A. Chapeau, I, like many of you, was able to get my hands on a trove of leaked documents, phone transcripts, and other material from the NIA and other sources. The data paints the following picture. The NIA may have had prior knowledge of XM transmissions, even before they set up the Niantic Project. It seems that someone in a position of power knew what they were looking for, but the scientists were kept in the dark. How much Ada knew is the subject of much debate. In the weeks leading up to Epiphany night, Dr. Linton Wolfe discovered that he could build devices which could interact with XM. The naturally occurring XM came to be referred to as Enlightened. Dr. Linton Wolfe created the scanner technology which could operate on lightly modified cell phones. This allowed researchers to observe XM portals in the real world and to manipulate them, to make them more powerful with resonators, and to adjust the frequency of XM to a new one he deemed safer. This type of XM came to be known as resistance, owing to the belief by the NIA that the Enlightened XM was a potentially dangerous foreign threat and needed to be resisted and neutralized. That scanner technology was leaked, perhaps on purpose, to the general public. It was later uploaded to the Google Play Store as a game. Since then, millions of people have experimented with XM. This gave us the two factions, the Enlightened and the Resistance, that now battle over the portals and perhaps our destiny. The NIA definitely fears whatever is out there. They refer to whatever it is as the Shapers, believing that human thought can be manipulated or shaped through exposure to XM. Others, notably Hank Johnson, argue that the Shapers have been a positive force on human evolution throughout recorded history. The companies. In the months after Epiphany night, 3 private companies emerged, each trying to gain a commercial foothold in the emerging world of XM technology. IQ-Tech, a US company with defense industry roots and a strong relationship with the NIA. Visua, a Russian company founded by Russian internet entrepreneur Ilya Petsov, and Hulong Transglobal, a Chinese state-backed company led by US-educated executive Catherine Fan. In the wake of the Epiphany night event, Dr. Bogdanovich sought out Ilya Petsov for funding to continue her research and ended up at Visua. Ezekiel Calvin moved from the NIA to IQ-Tech to seek to commercially exploit his XM research ties. And Yuan Ni sought employment with Hulong Transglobal. Some maintain that Ni defected, while others point to documents which seem to indicate that she was sent in as a double agent. As we look back at the developments up to this point, another very important element comes to play: XM anomalies. XM flares unleashed by massive numbers of scanner users. This we will cover next week in another special edition. For the Ingress Report, I'm Susanna Moyer.
Intel package transferred.